What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, man. We got interesting stuff came out this morning by Luis Ortiz accepting Dillian Whyte's offer to fight December 22nd in the UK. Now, there's been some back and forth going on between Dillian Whyte and Luis Ortiz over the last couple days, last couple weeks, where Dillian Whyte is trying to fend off criticism about him not fighting Luis Ortiz. For somebody that said that they wanted to get with Deontay Wilder said, "Hey, if you beat Luis Ortiz, then you can fight me. Next, you won't need a mandatory. I'll do it as a voluntary." And Dillian Whyte declined. Dillian Whyte was ordered to fight in a title eliminator with Luis Ortiz to get by the WBC, and Dillian Whyte refused again and went and fought Joseph Parker. And so then last week he comes and he tries to explain the situation, or he explains the situation about Luis Ortiz. He said, I offered to fight Ortiz years ago, but he didn't want to know. He didn't even want to know this summer and asked for silly money coming off a knockout loss to Wilder, and it made it clear that he wouldn't be ready for July 28th, which was the date we had available. And then he says, funnily enough, it didn't stop him from fighting somebody else on the day. Luis Ortiz responded and said, "Listen here, young man. There's a spot open on this Wilder Fury card, so why don't you strap on your nuts and come face me so I can show you a good ass whooping, son." And then he goes on and says a bunch of other stuff, man. He's in that particular article. But in this one, to continue with the conversation, he says, "After much thought and consideration, I accept your challenge. If you won't come to the U.S., then I'll step off the Wilder Fury card and fly over to the U.K. and fight you in your own backyard. Done deal. Enough talking that rubbish you speak. Send over the contract and I'm there. Now you've got yourself a real problem, son. What are you going to do now?" Now, Jay Jimenez, who is the manager of Luis Ortiz, says that he doesn't want the fight because they were already on a card on December 1st, and Whyte refused. And when the WBC gave him a mandatory, they also refused, right? So he's saying, look, I don't want to do this because I don't think Luis Ortiz should get off of his December 1st card to fight to fight Dillian Whyte, because the dude might not show up to the fight. The dude might not actually make the fight. And see, this is where I'm like, yeah, this is a trouble when you start dealing with Eddie Hearn. I'm not necessarily talking about Dillian Whyte. I'm talking about Eddie Hearn. You can't trust what the guy says. So if Luis Ortiz says, "Look, okay, I won't fight on a December 1st card. I'll go there and fight on December 22nd," right? And you stop your negotiations, you stop trying to get on a December 1st card. What happens if he turns around and he offers you somebody else and says, "Oh, no, I want you to fight this other guy. I want you to get a rematch with David Allen that day, because we couldn't work out something," right? And he doesn't actually feed him Dillian Whyte. Now Luis Ortiz doesn't get a fight on now he isolates himself from, pull off a pay-per-view card with Deontay Wilder, right? Causing those people problems, trying to replace him. He doesn't get the fight he wants with Dillian Whyte, and he's screwed, right? So I'm like, man, it's as far as the fight happening between Dillian Whyte and Luis Ortiz, like if they fought, man, it's hard for me to believe that Dillian Whyte that Eddie Hearn is going to feed this boy to Luis Ortiz. All right, that's just hard for me to see. Luis Ortiz, unless people are out of their minds, Dillian Whyte is a distinct underdog fighting Luis Ortiz, and it's hard for me to believe that they would make that fight. But if Dillian Whyte makes the fight and he does it, then hey, man, he did what he said he would do, and he's a man that lived up to his word. And I would be impressed. But that is, the word is the operative word, and that is would be. Personally, I think this is a bunch of talk. I think that Dillian Whyte is going to fight Derek Chisora. a rematch in a fight that he won, a fight that he probably can win, a fight that will still allow him to stay in line to fight Anthony Joshua on April 13th. Because the other option is, well, if he fights on December 22nd, he fights Luis Ortiz on December 22nd and loses, which more than likely he will lose. I mean, he's going to need a robbery to beat Luis Ortiz. That is a wild punching. He's wild punching as well. And he's going in against a southpaw counterpuncher like Luis Ortiz. Man, that dude's going to get... Man, Joseph Parker had that dude almost out. Luis Ortiz could very, very well knock out Dillian Whyte, and it all goes pop. So then is Anthony Joshua going to fight Luis Ortiz? We know that's not going to happen, man. You know that's not going to happen. I'm 99% sure that's not going to happen. So, this is a nice little war of words going on here. And I don't have any problem with them talking back and forth, man. But if Luis Ortiz was silly enough to sign a deal with Eddie Hearn as well. I mean, prior. And what happens if Eddie Hearn sends you a 3-fight deal? Like, yeah, we want to do this. We want to do this here. Here's a 3-fight deal, right? With Matchroom. And in order to do that, in order to get this Dillian Whyte fight, he has to sign for 2 fights, sign for 3 fights. How they do. It's like 2 options. Like, if you sign this, we'll give you X amount of money, and we want the options on your next 2 fights. Now you're stuck in the same situation you were before with Eddie Hearn, not allowing you to get anywhere near Anthony Joshua unless they think that him having lost to Deontay Wilder really took something away from him. I don't think that they're willing to bet that dude, because pretty much anybody gets hit upside the head by Deontay Wilder's getting knocked out. So, what does that mean? What does that mean as far as what he can do in his next fight? His next fight, he fought a guy that was, I believe I can't remember exactly who he fought, but it wasn't somebody that was a big deal. Got him up out of there like he should. And he's back on a roll. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. But Dillian Whyte is a good fighter. And being a good fighter, he just looks so suspect against Joseph Parker. I mean, when Joseph Parker knocked him down, it showed, and that's the second time he got dizzied, and one time he got knocked out, right, by Anthony Joshua. The other time now this time against Joseph Parker, he almost gets knocked out in the 12th round. He's just coming at you throwing punches. It just, from a matchmaker, and I'm not the world's best matchmaker, I don't claim to be it, but it just seems to me that this is that's too risky, for Eddie Hearn to do. And if he does this, if Luis Ortiz goes for this, then Luis Ortiz is putting himself in a lot of problems. But if he's able to win the fight, now I got to say this and to conclude it, that if Dillian Whyte were to take this fight and beat Luis Ortiz, then I would have to hold Deontay Wilder responsible for saying that he would fight him, right? So if Dillian Whyte is able to pull this off on December 22nd, Deontay Wilder wins on December 1st. Then you have an interesting situation because Dillian Whyte would have beaten Luis Ortiz. So who does Deontay Wilder fight next? Now, my understanding is that he's got to fight. If he doesn't fight Anthony Joshua after after Tyson Fury, whether it's Tyson Fury that wins or Deontay Wilder that wins, that the winner of that fight has to fight Dominic Breazeale. I do believe that is the circumstance. And that being the circumstance, then I'm not sure when Deontay Wilder would be able to fit in a fight with Dillian Whyte. His mandatory would have been taken care of. Rumor is that he has, and common sense would tell you that Tyson Fury has a rematch clause in his contract, which would make him have to fight that again. So I guess that would mean that, maybe the late part of 2019, right? Or the early 2020. But if he did that, then that would push any type of Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua fight out into mid 2020, which is what, Eddie Hearn wanted to do anyway. But, it's just going to be interesting to see how does this play out, how this plays out, man. We'll see if Eddie Hearn really wants to make that fight or whether he's going to try to stick it to Luis Ortiz like he did before. Anyway, it is what it is, and we'll see what's happening. And with that, I'm out. Oh, by the way, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified when we do more videos. It'd be much appreciated. And with that, I'm out. Peace.